Hi, and welcome to the Solution Point, where we talk about solutions for your life, your business, and the law. And today I've got Jeremy Cobb. He's here to give us a solution in the real estate field. But Jeremy, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody and let us know a little bit about your business?
Awesome. Well, thanks, Mike. I appreciate you having me on. Like you said, my name is Jeremy Cobb. I am a residential realtor with Magnolia Realty in the San Antonio to Braunfels market, and I specialize in uh, buyers and sellers, specifically residential real estate.
Tell us about, Solution Point. We discuss a problem that most people have and maybe don't even realize they have, and some that everybody knows they have. But we have our guests share a solution that they've got for the problem.
Yeah. So something that I see a lot of times is there's a lot of analysis paralysis. There's a lot of information being constantly thrown at people, whether it be through the news or online or wherever they may get their information. Their uncle, their brother, their cousin, maybe a realtor, and you're getting a lot of competing voices coming in. And so what I like to do is I like to kind of quiet the noise and make sure that you're getting the best information for your specific situation. I always joke I'm kind of a data nerd. I love data, all things data analytics, and so uh, I like to pull in the data for your specific situation and give you all of the information possible, and then use that data to tell a story about how we can solve your specific problem. So I like to get creative. Uh, I'm not like most realtors who are just out there looking to collect a check. I'm really truly trying to find the best solution for your problem. And so I actually recently just convinced somebody not to sell their home, which comes out of my money, out of my potential
Yeah,
paycheck.
yeah.
But it wasn't a good situation for them. It wasn't a good time for them to sell their home. It was a better situation. So I'll bring in different scenarios. I'll put things side by side, and I'll try to look at big picture, not just at, hey, what is the real estate market doing, but hey, what is the market as a whole looking like right now?
Yeah, and so the numbers, that's a really important thing because one of my good friends used to say, numbers don't lie, but liars figure. So, a lot of times we especially, I'll speak from experience with real estate, we tend to get very romanticized about it. Oh, I love this house. I love this building. I love this place. And then all of a sudden the numbers go out the window and all we see is the puppy dog eyes of the deal, and we forget about the analytics, and the analytics are important because whatever decision you make, this is not a wedding in Vegas. This is supposed to be a long-term thing, and you want to make sure you make a solid investment.
Right. And it's one of your biggest assets, if not your biggest asset that you're ever going to own, is your primary residence typically, unless you own commercial real estate, and that's a whole other ballgame, right? But for the majority of Americans, the biggest asset they're ever going to own is their primary residence. And so it's important. Yeah, you want it to look nice, you want it to feel like home, all of those things are great. But at the end of the day, you also want to make sure that you're not going to make a bad financial decision to either make you house broke, house poor, to where you're in a bad situation down the road, or maybe you're in the field of estate planning. You don't want to leave your kids, your grandkids, your relatives in a bad situation down the road, even if it is your forever home. You want to make sure that
Yep.
you are properly putting your money in the best place possible for a good return on your investment.
That's very true. And a lot of times it's, like I said, it's hard when it's your personal residence. It's a little easier to evaluate an investment property, but when it's where you're going to live, it's easy to, like I said, romanticize and say, "Oh, this is our forever home. That we're going to bring the grandkids here," and you're like, "Yeah, but you're overpaying, or the house is going to need all of these upgrades, as, after you close. You bought this beautiful Victorian house. I'm speaking out of one right now, and it's not, I mean, it's over 100 years old, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have the maintenance that is going to need to be done. So, you've got to look at that, and you've got to make sure you factored in all of those equations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and
Yeah.
when you're looking at that, you want to look at your neighborhood, you want to look at your zip code, you want to look at your school district, you want to look at all the different layers and levels of where is my house located, right? The old adage in real estate is location, location, location. Well,
Yeah.
I take a look at all of those things and help you make the best decision. Okay, how historically has this location performed historically in the real estate market, right? What is our historical appreciation? Sure, everybody's house values went up in 2021, 2022 when the market was crazy, but let's look back
Mhm.
to 2000 through 2010. Let's look back 2010 to 2020. How did the how did that particular neighborhood, that particular area appreciate? I had one instance where a couple bought a house in a great neighborhood, phenomenal appreciation across the board historically in the neighborhood, but on their particular side of the street, the appreciation was not good. And it got that granular where the side of the street that they purchased on caused them to be in a bad situation when they went to sell down the road.
And that's one of the things is looking at those numbers. What are some of the other numbers that you pay attention to when you're evaluating a house for a client as far as, hey, is this going to be a good value?
Yeah, so like I said, I look at historical appreciation. Something else that I like to look at is if there's any kind of anomalous data for a neighborhood versus nearby neighborhoods, right? So if a particular neighborhood is outperforming everything else around it, I try to look at the why for that and try to figure
Yeah.
out, well, what is it about this particular neighborhood, this particular area. And it could come down to something as simple as, hey, this side of the tracks, there you're in school district A, and this side you're in school district B. So all the different data points, it's important to look at the big picture, look at every single possible data point when it comes to that. And if you're not doing it every day, you don't know what to look for. And so that's where I come
Yeah.
in. I help you analyze all of those things to figure out, okay, this might look like a great deal, but oh, did you know that it was in a floodplain? Oh, did you know that it was
Hmm.
or partially in a floodplain, right? Which is going to impact your resale. Oh, did you know that there's a shopping center going up in a year? There was development planned for this area, right? Uh, and that was where the side of the street example came in. There was a shopping development going in the next year right behind them, and so I help them
Yeah.
avoid or help future buyers avoid a bad situation potentially.
And then you have situations like we had looked, one of the first properties we looked at here in New Braunfels was on Walnut. And the idea was to have a living arrangement with the business. And Walnut has a very unique little section that has very special rules. And so those rules would have worked really great for us. The deal didn't wind up working because the house needed so much work and we had already gotten them down as far as they could go. But it wasn't going to work out for us. And I'm happy to see that somebody bought it and they totally fixed it up, made it really nice. But yeah, that's important to kind of see those things. And it's important to work with somebody who has access to those data points.
Right. Well,
Because if you're, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, all realtors have access to pretty much the same raw data. Where I differentiate myself is I have a proprietary software that I utilize to help visualize that data and helps tell the story of, okay, well, so what? What does this data mean to me? And so
Mhm.
I can get extremely granular, like I said, to even, what street are you on? What side of the street are you on? Are you in, you know, which tax bracket, or sorry, which tax area are you in property tax wise?
Mhm.
I can get down to that level with the data that I'm looking at.
Yeah, so it's important to not just have the data, but know how to interpret it and have the tools to have it make sense. If not, you're just looking at numbers and, zeros and ones and trying to figure out what that means.
Right. That's exactly right.
So, Jeremy, one of the things that we also like to cover in the solution point is sharing a core value, kind of a value that you have that is part of how you make decisions. It could be in your business, it could be in your family life. Is there a core value that you live by that you'd like to share with us and kind of unpack it a little bit?
I would say my core value, my primary core value is empathy. I want to put myself in your shoes. And as a realtor, we're tasked with being a fiduciary for you. And so, as a realtor, not only do I try and uphold that fiduciary level to the highest level possible, but I also try to put myself in your shoes. I use empathy on a daily basis as I'm talking through your situation so that I can help you make the best decision for you. Because it's not about me. It's not about what I bring to the
Mhm.
table. It's not my house. It's your house. It's not my investment. It's your investment. It's your money, and I'm trying to do the best thing for you possible, not for my bottom line.
I just completely agree with that. That's a really important core value, especially when we're in a service business, is putting the client first. Like the story you were telling at the beginning of the podcast, how you talked yourself out of a sale because it wasn't what was best for the client. And that empathy, those choices, they will come back and you'll get more out of doing the right thing and doing the thing that's best for the customer because they're going to tell their friends, hey, Jeremy had an opportunity to make a good commission, but instead he was looking out for me, and now I'm not going to be in a upside down position. Now I've got an investment property because he helped me realize that it was more beneficial to take the rental option than to try to sell it. And once he showed me the numbers, it all made sense. I can't emphasize enough how when we show empathy, we're really able to take advantage of showing who we really are, because people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, and it's not quick. It takes time for people to realize, hey, this person is trying to help me. They really are looking out for me. And you got to go with him because he's going to put you first. And so that takes time to build. And unfortunately, a lot of people now, they don't want to take the time to build those relationships, build that reputation. They're in a hurry. They're like, hey, I need to make a commission and I want to make it now and I want to make as many sales as I can because I need to put numbers up. And in the short run, they go like a firework. They shoot up, they're bright, and then they're gone. Because all of a sudden, everybody realizes he's just out for himself. When you're slow and steady and putting the customer first, it gets around, and you're going to be far along, 5, 10 years from now. You're going to be turning people away because you're going to have so much business.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and it's one thing that I love about being a part of Magnolia Realty is the number one metric in the brokerage across the state that they look at is not how many units you do, not how much sales volume you do, but it's what is your experience.com score. And experience.com is just a website that we send out. It automatically goes out. I don't get to control who sees it, who fills out reviews, who doesn't. It automatically sends it out to all of my clients at the end of every transaction. And it tracks, it asks them a series of questions about the transaction, about how things went. And I take pride that my total score out of the entire time I've been doing it is 4.99 stars. The only person that didn't give me a 5-star rating was a really good friend of mine, and he is of the opinion that nobody ever deserves 5 stars because you can always
oh
have room for
no.
improvement. And so yeah,
Eh,
we track
That's
how
it's so
pleased the
frustrating.
client is with our service, not necessarily how many transactions we're doing through the year.
Yeah, and that's great. So, Jeremy, to kind of wrap things up, how can somebody, if they want to list their house or if they're looking to buy a house, how can they get a hold of you, and what's the best avenue for them to reach you, to engage you or Magnolia in your services?
Yeah, so my best way to
And what's
contact.
your reach? What's your area?
So my primary reach is the greater San Antonio area, which includes New Braunfels, Bulverde, Spring Branch, Seguin, all kind of that Highway 46 corridor or belt goes around San Antonio.
Okay.
That's kind of my outward reach. However, I did say we have brokerages all throughout the state of Texas that I am constantly in contact with, and so if you're in the state of Texas and you want to reach out to me, I can best connect you with an agent who I think is going to fit well with you after a brief conversation. So, best way to get a hold of me is my phone number, 210-240-8028. You can text me, you can call me, pretty much anytime. If I can't get to you right away, I'll text you back and let you know a good time to talk. And then also my email address is my name, Jeremy Cobb at magnoliarealty.com.
And I will plus one for everybody listening. Jeremy will really go up to bat for you. I have a property that isn't listed with Jeremy. I had listed it before before I got to meet him, but he's been coming to me with ideas of how we might be able to set things up to be able to sell the property. So, Jeremy, my experience with you is not just in the organization that we're in together, but you've actually brought me great ideas and potential opportunities. So I do thank you, and I do recommend you highly. That's the pod. So thank you all. And if you like this, go ahead and give the thumbs up, subscribe, like it, do all the things, and we'll keep putting these videos out for you. And thank you, Jeremy, for coming in, and thank you for your insights and some great solutions for your business, your life, and the law. Thank you, and we'll catch you guys next time.